All right, what's up, boys and trolls? We have part 4 of one of the greatest days in DSP history, and we're going to be taking a look at the 341 bankruptcy call. And this was a shit show, a comedy fest, and a damn tragedy all rolled up into one. Now, this call took place on March 26, 2020, so we just hit the 4-year anniversary a couple of days ago. Let's get some prayer hands in chat for that, please. But this was supposed to be the day that he got what was coming to him. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. We had a very incompetent judge on the case who didn't understand anything he did for a living. She let DSP just talk in circles to the point where she fell for the pignosis. And then when you throw COVID into the mix, he got away to scam for another day. Having said all that, it was still really good to see him squirming around, trying to avoid every question, not being able to ban everybody because he got his little feelings hurt, and just embarrassing himself and coming off looking like a jackass in the process. And that is why it's still one of the greatest days in DSP history. Now, I got this from Memology's channel. There's a few other uploads out there, but a lot of the original videos got taken down because of someone copyright striking them and reporting them. Now this shocks me. But if you want to watch it straight up without my commentary, it'll be linked down below. Now, I went ahead and cut out a lot of the dead air and a few sections that are just legal questions and whatnot. And if you watch this call live, you'll remember the constant beeping that kept happening because people kept trying to call in nonstop. It was like the 1920s all over again, and people were packing the courthouse to see the freak show. I mean DSP. Even had the little paper boys outside the courthouse saying, "Extra, extra, Burnell commits bankruptcy fraud." All right, that may or may not have happened. I'm not sure. My memory's a little fuzzy when it comes to that. But I did my best to get rid of the beeping and adjust the audio when I could, so hopefully it doesn't bother people too much. Now, let's go ahead and fire this thing up. The Bankruptcy 341 call, a fucking go.
Tax return you provided to me, is that a true and correct copy?
Yes.
Are you still self-employed?
Yes.
What is that self-employment?
The company's name is Burnell Productions. It is internet content creation of on-demand and also live video streaming services.
Find that again, please.
Sure. It's internet content creation of on-demand video and also live streaming video services.
Here, pauses. It's just because I'm making notes there.
Okay.
I'm going to start basically at the beginning of your schedules and just kind of work through them. The first thing you have listed here is real property in Connecticut. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
When did you purchase this property?
Ooh, okay. I want to say it was roughly July of 2009, I believe.
What was the purchase price?
I want to say it was in the $135,000 range. I could be off by a bit there, but I believe that is correct.
Is the property currently rented?
No.
All of my money goes to bills.
Could you repeat that?
Is the property vacant?
It is vacant, yes.
Absolute perfect fucking timing. Whoever did that, prayer hands to you. But that right there should have been red flag number 1. I see you own a second property on the opposite side of the country. Is that being rented out, sir? No. Well, why the fuck not? And she didn't even ask that. And trust me, I listened to the entire thing. She didn't follow up on it. But at the start of the clip, she asked him what he does for a living, and his response is internet content creation of on-demand and also live video streaming services. So you do OnlyFans then, motherfucker. Because that's what it sounds like. I bet Derek perked up when he heard that shit. Dude, you play video games and then upload them to YouTube. You don't do anything, fucking idiot. It's no wonder Nancy didn't stand a chance. How are you supposed to decipher this dumb shit? Oh, I create internet content of live streaming services and also on demand. Man, get the fuck out of my face.
Is the property insured?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. I have not, made a payment on it in quite some time, but I believe that it's still insured, through the mortgage company. I think they've been paying it.
Okay, when's the last time you made a payment?
It was either April.
sorry, you cut out. I didn't hear that.
Are you what?
When was the last mortgage payment made on the Connecticut property?
I have the motion for relief if you want me to look at that and find the exact date.
No, I just want his recollection.
Oh, okay.
Do you recall when you made the last payment?
April or May of 2019. I believe it was probably April.
You also list real property in Renton, is that correct?
That's correct.
When did you purchase that?
That was purchased in June of 2014.
What was the purchase price?
I believe that was $265,000.
You lived there since you purchased it?
Yes, I have lived there since I purchased it.
Are the mortgage payments current on this property?
Yes.
Anyone know what that beeping is?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm hearing a beeping. Are you hearing it on your end?
I'm hearing it too, but I don't
No idea what that might be. We'll hope it goes away.
know.
Is the property insured?
Yes.
And is this a house or a condo? Mr. Burnell, is this a house or a condo? Hello? Burnell? DarkSydePhil, are you there?
Nancy?
Yes?
Sorry, there's 60 people on the line for this call, so I think that's the problem.
Okay.
But we're back on.
Okay. Drop out and
But
then...
I don't, that beeping's coming from.
Okay. Well, let's try and just keep going.
Okay.
I love it. And Rochelle, or whatever your bitch name is, don't worry about how many people are on the call. Those are good Samaritans trying to contribute in any way that they can. And perhaps you should be more concerned about your client not paying his second mortgage, even though he was legally obligated to. So Nancy asked him when he made the last payment on the Connecticut condo, and he stalls for a long time, eventually answers April or May of 2019. Remember, this call happened in damn near April of 2020. So for a year, he hadn't paid anything on it. But how many times do you think he was using it as a boogeyman, trying to get people to tip him? Oh, I got this second condo and I'm trying to get rid of it. They might repossess it. Well, are you renting it out? You fucking trolls ask too many questions, man. Get the hell out of my business. Gee, Rochelle, I wonder why there were 60 people on the call. I can't quite figure that one out. I mean, gout.
Originally, you listed only one bank account with Bank of America. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Then I think you filed an amendment where you listed a PayPal account.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So
Two
tell me
PayPal.
how your PayPal account works.
PayPal is an online currency system where people can send funds digitally, and they're held in a virtual, that's not technically a bank account, but it's a virtual account, which can then be used to make purchases online. There's a debit card system. The way it works is as I am creating content, people willingly decide whether or not they want to contribute to help me to continue to create content. Some people will go to what I call my PayPal tips page online, and they submit funds via my PayPal account in order to contribute to the business.
What did you call that? PayPal what account?
Tips page. That's what I call it, a PayPal tips page. It's just an online website address where people can contribute monetary funds over the internet as a way of basically saying, you know, we like the content you create and we want you to continue to do it, so here's, you know, some funds to help doing it. Now, in addition to that, I received payment from two different companies One is called Twitch. The live streaming service company. The other is YouTube, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. That's on-demand video services. And on both of those companies, I either upload content or I live stream content, and I make revenue via those services via various methods, advertisements and other kinds of contribution. And they monthly send me a deposit via PayPal for whatever I have earned in that month.
Okay.
So that's why there's two PayPal accounts. One is for kind of crowdfunding contributions from people who like what I do. The other is from two actual companies who pay me online for my work.
Okay. So these crowdfunding, would be considered like someone wants to give you a gift and that's how they give it to you?
Yes, from my understanding from speaking with my tax attorney, a charitable contribution, it would be the same as if someone went to a restaurant and you were a waiter or a waitress or a bartender and did a good job, and someone said, oh, I really like the job you did, so they would give the person a tip. So it's the same premise with me. If I'm doing a really live stream or if I put out on people really enjoy, they have the completely optional ability.
You're breaking up. Please repeat what you just said. You just broke up.
Okay. Per my tax attorney, PayPal tips are basically considered like a tip that you would leave at a restaurant. So if you have a good bartender or a good waiter or waitress, you would leave them a tip. That's exactly what my PayPal tips page is. If I'm doing a good live stream for the day, or if I put out on-demand video content that people think is good, they will optionally and willingly send me a tip via my PayPal tips page. That's how it works.
Okay.
How fucking shady does all of this sound? When you have to over-explain stuff like this, it means something's wrong. There should have been fucking bells and whistles going off. I also like how he had to explain that as he's creating content, people willingly decide if they want to support him, and it's completely optional. Is that why you're always feigning distress and guilt-tripping them like this?
By the way, guys, since I am going to be around for about another 15 minutes, last chance if you want to contribute tonight at this point, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm not going to mention it again after now. I really do appreciate those who did. Sucks because I definitely could have used some more help for tomorrow. Now, basically, I don't even know. I'm going to have to skimp, I guess. Nothing you can do about it. I do appreciate those who did chill with me tonight. Not every night's going to be a winner. You know what I mean? And that's fine. But so if you could support the stream tonight, I would really, really appreciate it. Anything is appreciated. I'm not going to be talking about it all night. But if you could help me out tonight with support, that would be nice. So that way, it's not an issue where yesterday was a slow day, but it was an expectedly slow day because of the reaction and because of Starfield. Today was not supposed to be. Today I was supposed to have, a full stream that did not happen. It only half happened. That was out of my control. Tonight, I don't know how this stream is going to go. It sucks, So, yeah, if you could support tonight, please do. I'm not going to bring it up all night. All right? For the support, I appreciate that. Now, guys, just to get this out of the way, because I don't want to be mentioning this all night, okay? We're about 15 minutes into the stream. I've already got a bunch of super chats, which is great. No tips, and the problem is right now, in this short term, this next week, I need as much help with tips as humanly possible to pay bills. So if you have the option to support a different way, great. But if you could tip me, please do. I'm not looking to give Torsten a mouth. If all you could do is super chat tonight, thank you. That's going to help me next month. That's going to help me tremendously. But I need help with tips in the short term, man. I do. So if you can, please tip me. It's going to help me a ton. And also, sadly, I hate to say it, but if I have a night with 0 tips, it's going to completely negate the positivity that I had the past couple of days because, you know what I'm saying? It all evens out, and I don't want it to. So, please, if you can support, please tip me tonight.
What a joke, man. But going back to how shady it all sounds, she asked him how his PayPal account works, and this motherfucker gives her the literal definition of what PayPal is. Again, this is what he does. He just talks as much as he can, uses as many words as he possibly can, and hope that the other person just gives up. And don't mind the fact that he has multiple PayPal accounts, despite the fact that he's just a video game streamer. It all adds up. Just don't think about it, idiots.
Okay, what is WWE Network?
Can you repeat that, please?
What is WWE Network?
WWE.
Oh,
Network.
WWE Network. That is just an on-demand video service for watching, professional wrestling. That is not business related.
You've provided me a copy of your PayPal account for 1 month. I would like to see the last 6 months of both of your PayPal statements.
Oh no, it's gonna happen.
What's the problem?
You want the 6 months of both PayPals?
Yes.
Okay, I think I have that. Actually, I wasn't sure if you needed all of that, but I'll send that over.
Yeah, oftentimes I don't, as you know, but this one I want to see the last 6 months.
Okay.
You indicate that you have a business of Brunel Productions, is that correct?
That is correct.
And is this considered a corporation or a sole proprietorship? What is it?
I believe it's a sole proprietorship.
Actually, John, because I think when we filed, you weren't sure.
It's not. I know it's not a corporation. I believe it's sole proprietorship.
Are you entitled to a tax refund for 2019?
No.
Have you filed 2019? I don't recall which year you sent me.
Have you filed 2009? I sent 2018. Have you filed your 19 yet?
Oh, yes, I have. In fact, I sent the final information within the last week, but my tax attorney notified me that due to this coronavirus situation that everything's being delayed and it's not available yet, but I certainly could provide that, when it is available.
Okay, so when you say you sent it, who did you send it to?
My tax attorney.
Oh, that's my tax attorney. Yeah, so you can throw him under the bus just like you did the last one. But going back to the beginning of it, you can hear the panic in his voice when she asks him, what is WWE Network? And all of a sudden he can't hear her and needs her to repeat the question, even though his bankruptcy attorney heard it just fine and they're in the same fucking room. Kind of odd how that works out, but I guess it was just a coincidence. She then asked for the last 6 months of PayPal statements, which I don't know what she needed it for, especially if she saw his bank account. I mean, how can you possibly explain away all of those Apple iTunes and PayPal transactions? Again, just red flags going off everywhere. And not to spoil it, but you're going to understand exactly why she didn't follow up on it a little bit later in the video. Next clip.
You list business assets of $1,500, is that correct?
Yes.
We went through the list of the various gaming machines that you have. Is that included in your business assets?
Yes.
So it's your testimony then that the business machines that we went through that you indicated were all business assets, such as your various PlayStation machines. If you were to liquidate those, the value would be $1,500.
Sure. If I were to liquidate them today, estimating, a ballpark value like a, garage sale or sell them immediately, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Most of the stuff there, like the computer, is very old. It's over 6 years old.
And the only business you have is Brunel Productions?
That is correct.
How much do you make on a monthly basis from YouTube?
From YouTube, that varies greatly. It could be as low as, I think the lowest month, maybe $500, but it could be very high as well, depending on the time of year, because YouTube ad revenue fluctuates. It could be as high as, over $1,000. So really, I would have to crunch some numbers to give you an average.
Okay, you broke up there a bit. My understanding is your testimony is between $500 and $1,000 a month, depending on the month.
Sure.
Okay.
That sounds about correct for an average, yes.
Okay. How about Twitch? How much do you make on a month from Twitch?
I would average, let's just say between 3,000. It could be a little higher or a little lower, but that's average.
About 3,000?
Yeah.
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
How about Streamlabs?
Streamlabs, that's a program that I used to stream, but I don't make revenue from that.
How much do you make each month from Patreon?
At this point, I would say about between $300 and $400 a month.
Teespring?
Teespring, that is the T-shirt company. I make very little, maybe at most $100 a month, but usually it's much less than that.
Nancy fucked up on that one. I mean, he still should have answered the question. He knew exactly what she was trying to say. How much do you make off of Streamlabs? Phil, you only use Streamlabs for one reason, and that's to accept tips. Yeah, there's a few other features on it, but you know damn well that's what he uses it for. But again, going back to how shady it all is, he doesn't make anything off of Streamlabs. So if you add up everything they mentioned there, about 1,000 from YouTube, roughly 4,000 from Twitch, 400 from Patreon, and 100 from Teespring, that comes out to $5,500. Gee, Phil, I wonder why you didn't want to mention the roughly $4,000 you make in tips. Again, pretty weird coincidence. He then said that if he was to sell all his consoles in a garage-style sale, they would be worth about $1,500. Could you imagine him out in front of his condo doing a garage sale? Yes, Mr. Burnell. How much do you want for that statue that you jerked off on? Or how about that PS4 Pro and TV that were gifted by fans, but you still wrote off as business expenses? Or how about all those vests and wigs you have up there in the corner that make you look like a clown, you fucking muppet?
You provided to me, looks like summaries might be considered a profit and loss. It talks about net profit / loss calculations. You have various columns here. I just want a little bit of explanation. Obviously, the first one is self-explanatory. You have the month. The next column, you list profit / income gross. What is that?
Profit income gross, that would be before any kind of expenses were taken out of it. It's just the gross income for that month.
Do you mean where does the income come from, like the different?
Well, I think you'll understand as we go on, so I understand this. Then you say expenses total, and then you say, and in a separate column you have just business expenses. What's the difference between those two, and how do you calculate them?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I believe what you're referencing is that.
It's
Oh, is it right in front of you?
yeah.
So I believe I broke it down so that in one case it would be all the money that I make, the gross profit, minus the business expenses. Then the other case was showing in regards to all of my personal debts, including the payments that I was making on things like credit cards and things like that. I think from the top of my head, I think that's what you're speaking of.
So when I did the Beans test, I only used the business figures, and then the personal would be what's on the I and J, or the J, like regular living expenses.
Okay. What do you consider a business expense?
Anything relating, to the business per the instruction of my tax attorney. So it could be, the cost of a video game, the cost of a subscription for a video game, a microtransaction within a video game, the cost of a piece of new equipment, maintenance on said equipment every month. It could be the internet, cost of internet every month. It could be cost of, utilities necessary for the business, cost of cell phone for the business. All those things would be included.
Stop. Go ahead.
And basically anything related to my internet content creation, including, like I said, cost of video games, cost of subscription-based services, microtransactions within video games, cost of internet.
Keep going. We'll try to ignore the beeping.
Sorry?
I just said keep going, and we'll try and ignore that beeping sound.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm hitting upon most of it. Basically anything that is related to me creating content on the internet, whether it's the on-demand videos or the live streaming. And, there's many factors, including not only the cost of the video games, but the internet and microtransactions and all kinds of things that happen within, the realm of gaming.
Okay.
So she asked for an explanation between his net income and profit / gross. She sounds somewhat confused by it and wants him to break it down. Now, remember this for later. DSP ends up giving her a long, drawn-out response that doesn't really answer the question, but then his attorney jumps in and says she used a different form to determine business expenses as opposed to personal expenses. Again, How does this not trigger red flags everywhere? But Nancy just accepts the answer and moves on. She then asks him what he considers a business expense. And again, DSP just rambles on and names a bunch of shit. But he mentions the word microtransactions 3 different times. Let that sink in. Have you ever seen him even do 3 microtransactions in all the time you've been watching DSP? I've been paying attention since 2017, and I don't think I've ever seen him do it one time. But here, while he's explaining his $5,000 a month in business expenses to a person that doesn't even know what a PlayStation machine is, he somehow mentions the word 3 times. I believe the phrase I'm looking for right now is, "Isn't it Shawn Michaels?"
Are you currently married?
Yes.
Your wife joining in this petition?
No.
Do you have any assets that are not listed on these documents?
No.
The recent marriage.
Yeah.
It's a pretty recent marriage, so these deaths were basically separate.
Pretty recent as to when were you married?
April of 2019.
Okay, I have no further questions. Are there creditors on the line?
Hello?
Yes, are you a creditor?
No, sorry, that was me. You cut out, so I just wanted to make sure you were still there.
Okay, are there any creditors on the line? Okay, your name, please? Oh, your last name? And you're with Citibank? Do you have questions you want to ask, Mr. Burnell?
When did you realize you needed to file this case?
We filed.
Well, no, when did you realize you needed to file? I think is what you asked.
Sure, we a little bit earlier. Yeah. And I was considering that.
Met in October.
Right. So, okay, I would say middle of 2019 was basically, when I realized there was no way that I was going to be able to handle, what was going on financially in my life anymore. There was no way to get out of it.
Creditors on the line who have unmuted their phones, please mute until you're ready to speak. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Alex.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You cut out. Yes, for a few more months. And as my bankruptcy attorney just stated, we filed in October. And so...
No, we met in October.
Oh, no, that's right. When did we file?
We filed in January.
In January. We met in October. And upon the initial discussion with my bankruptcy attorney, I was told at that point, completely discontinue use of all, lines of credit. And I did. But I would say probably up until that discussion with my bankruptcy attorney in October of 2019, I was still, actively using lines of credit and making payments towards the credit.
She asks him if he's married, and they go back and forth until his attorney jumps in and says, "It's a pretty recent marriage." Well, you don't say. It almost sounds like he got married right before he decided to declare bankruptcy, so he could either hide a bunch of shit in her name or have access to another line of credit. I mean, it's not suspicious at all that he got married the exact same month that he stopped making payments on the Connecticut condo and started preparing for this bankruptcy. But apparently that was too much for Nancy to look into, obviously. But then we get to the main event of the video, and she asks if there's any creditors on the line, and somebody actually steps up, but we aren't able to hear what he's saying. Luckily for us, his attorney repeats the question, and it was, when did he realize that he needed to file for bankruptcy? And DSP says around the middle of 2019. So again, right after he got married. He also says that he stopped using his credit cards after he spoke to his bankruptcy attorney in October of 2019. Now, I'm going to do something that I usually don't do. I'm going to give Phil Burnell some credit. And no, not a credit card, because he would just fuck me over. But I'm going to give him some actual credit. I went to Pig Go, and I fully expected to find a clip of him saying he needed help to make his credit card payments after October of 2019. And to my surprise, I could only find one clip of him saying it from October 7th, 2019. So it still lines up with what he said. And trust me, I looked for it. So Phil, pay attention. From the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry that you went bankrupt. Go fuck yourself.
Okay. And do you still have any purchases from those lines of credit in your possession, or did you sell them, or where's that property now?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You cut out yet again.
Sure. The purchase that you made with your credit lines following your realization that you were insolvent, do you still have those purchases?
It's cutting out, but keep going. The purchases that were made with the credit line.
Yes, the purchases that he made with the credit line after realizing he was insolvent. Does he still have that property in his possession?
Most of the purchases that I would have made with any kind of lines of credit would have been things such as groceries, that kind of stuff. It's not like I was buying anything significant for personal property or anything like that. Now, if you have specific questions about, prep purchases, obviously I could talk with you behind the scenes about that. I don't know specifically what you're referencing, but I did not make, if you're, trying to basically say that I bought a bunch of stuff and I still have it, it only would have been business-related stuff or necessities like grocery shopping and things like that, to my knowledge.
Okay. And the other question I would have then is if it was business-related stuff, I heard you mention that you had a lot of equipment, PS4s, things like that. You're saying that you owned these prior to realizing that you were insolvent, correct?
When you think about that, I would say yes. That's correct.
Okay. And
yes.
And other business expenses like purchasing games for your streaming content company. You purchase these games also with. Let me just reword that. Have you purchased any games since October?
Since October, yes.
On credit lines, are you specifically referring to? Or
Yes, on credit lines. Well, I'm trying to establish where insolvency was realized so that we can sort of come to an understanding that any purchases made on credit post-insolvency wouldn't be dischargeable.
Yeah, no, I did not make any purchases on credit after my initial conversation with my bankruptcy attorney in October.
So the creditor asked him if he still has any items that he purchased after he realized he needed to file for bankruptcy. And conveniently, the call keeps breaking up and they ask him to keep repeating himself. But once DSP finally understands the question, he explains the answer and tells the guy that they can talk behind the scenes if they need to. Again, where the fuck is Nancy in all this? This whole case is shady to begin with, and there's DSP on the phone telling this guy, oh, we can talk behind the scenes if you really want to. Wink, wink. They then go back and forth, basically repeating themselves, and they keep coming to the same conclusion, but DSP is starting to get a little fed up with this guy, and I think we might have some fireworks in the next clip.
Okay, and sure, another thing too. So you made all these purchases for these equipment systems. I'm assuming that's the bulk of your business expenses as far as, having to buy the equipment, having to buy the games, things like that. Reviewing your filing, it looks like you stated here that you have about $5,000 a month in business expenses. Can you itemize that for me?
Hold on. But yeah, right. I don't think these.
Nancy, I'm not sure this person is for Citibank.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
I'm not sure. Are you?
I'm calling out.
Really?
I'm calling representing Citibank. Yes, Citibank. What are you talking about?
Right. Are you an attorney or what's your position at Citibank? Or this doesn't seem.
This seems like a sort of an attempt to back out of answering the very transparent question reviewing these files, which is that he has $5,000 a month in business expenses, which does not make any sense.
And collections at Citibank appear on a case, so this seems a little strange. We'll answer the questions, but
okay,
it just
great.
We've been answering the questions.
Hold on just a second. Where are you seeing $5,000 a month on business expenses?
He's listed over $5,000 a month on expenses, so he's got $5,000 a month in income, $5,000 a month in expenses, and basically the gross income that he's claiming that he's making is $35.
Okay, so
Wait,
you're looking
I'm
at
sorry.
INJ.
I'm referring to his initial bankruptcy filing.
Okay.
Yes.
So where are the $5,000 a month in business expenses?
I think
I've already explained.
Let me back up a minute because I think you might be looking at it a little bit wrong. And maybe if I could give you a little bit of clarification as to the way these forms are intended to be used, that might answer something, and then you can ask your question again.
Sure.
Schedule J asks him to list out various expenses he has. This is a personal bankruptcy. And so he's listed things like rent and food and utilities and clothing, things like that. As I'm seeing the schedule, that totals up to be about $5,000, a little bit, a little bit more than that. Is that the number that you're referring to as business expenses?
Yes. If that's claimed as personal expenses instead, I would still like to get an idea of how exactly he itemizes that. Because the amount of income that I'm seeing, he's claiming that it varies, but the time that he filed, it just happened to be during a very high spike in expenses, which doesn't really make any sense to me.
The creditor asked DSP to explain his $5,000 a month in business expenses, which seems like a really reasonable request. And that's it. DSP has had enough. But instead of confronting him like a man and telling him he thinks he's full of shit, what does he do? He runs to his bankruptcy attorney and says, "I don't think this guy's legit. Can you please tell Nancy?" You fucking coward. So then his attorney has to go back and forth with the guy about whether he's legit or not. And I remember at the time, the guy saying he bought up some of DSP's debt for pennies on the dollar. So whether it was true or not, I really don't know, but I'll give him credit. He stood his ground and kept asking the question. But then we get to the part that really bothers me. Nancy steps in and says, "You seem to be confused about how the filing works. Maybe I should explain it to you." This is coming from the same woman who earlier in the call said she was confused about how he listed his net income and his business/personal expenses. So we have DSP who's too scared to even answer the guy's question himself. We have his attorney who's just arguing with the guy. And then we have the judge who 1 minute is having trouble understanding the way DSP filed the forms, and the next minute is explaining it to someone who's questioning the expenses. Tell me again how this fucking shit show went through.
Okay, do you have the schedule? Who is this?
As long as we've established that he's realized that he was insolvent in October, that's really all I needed. So it's fine.
I mean, I don't want to cut your questions off. I'm just trying to make sure that you're understanding the forms the way they're intended.
Right, I understand. He's claiming that he's got $5,000 a month in expenses and only $5,000 a month in income, and nets about $35, which still doesn't really make any sense to me when he's claiming that he gets $1,000 from YouTube, $4,000 from Twitch. That's $5,000 right there. But then he's also claiming that he gets these donations or tips or whatever it is through his stream itself, which is separate from the service paying him for streaming.
Okay, I understand your question. Do you have a further explanation, Mr. Burnell?
I've already broken down how my expenses work. I don't know what this gentleman is referencing specifically. You know, all the information is there, so I don't know exactly what he's looking for. Okay. I don't understand. I don't understand.
I'm just asking you to explain your expenses.
Which we've done.
So why are you asking again?
I do not see anywhere that adds up to $5,000 of expenses monthly, or that warrants paying extra money for video games and things post-October when you realize that you were insolvent.
Right, but what you're talking about is strictly related to Citibank purchases. If I'm understanding this correctly, you're wondering if there were any purchases after October on the Citibank cards, but you have access
I'm
to
asking
those
about
statements.
any cards, any lines of credit. I'm trying to figure out when he realized he was insolvent, if he continued making credit purchases after that time.
And he's already stated that he is not.
Okay, as long as that's on the record. Great, thank you.
That was on the record, yes, earlier.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Are there other creditors on the phone who want to ask questions? Now would be the time to unmute and ask a question and identify yourself. If there are no further people on the phone who are going to ask questions or identify themselves, I have no further questions. Is that someone jumping in? Okay.
Why am I poisoned? Why am I toxic?
Wingsofredemption, do you have the identification information with you?
And she actually laughed at the end there, but it still doesn't make up for the butcher job that she did on this. So the guy states that he doesn't understand how DSP has $5K in expenses and roughly $5K in income and is netting about $35 a month. Nancy says she understands the question and asks Phil if he has an answer. And DSP says, I don't know what this gentleman is talking about. And if you go back and listen to it, he wanted to say, fucking idiot so bad. But I guess he remembered he wasn't on his pre-stream, so he couldn't do it. They then go back and forth, and DSP actually says he already broke all his expenses down, which he fucking didn't. In fact, he purposely avoided the Streamlabs question, which would have explained where the extra 5K was coming from, but whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. Nancy then asked if there's any other creditors on the line, and nobody else said anything. So even though some people were saying that this guy fucked up, he was the only one who stepped up, so you at least got to give him credit for that. And believe it or not, DSP still came home and did a fucking pre-stream. And I'll give you one guess on what you think he did during that pre-stream.
Okay, guys? Now, since I am superbly late today, I am not going to waste time with a ginormous session of pre-stream. What I'm going to do is very basic stuff. The first thing I'm going to tell you guys is thank you for all of your ongoing positive support. All right? I really appreciate that. You know, over 11 years of being a content creator, it really means something that people are still here for the streams every day and still hang out with me and still contribute. It's really awesome. All right. Please know up front, even though contributions on the streams are really what keeps me going, and it's those contributions that allow me to keep doing this for a living. They're not mandatory, so please don't feel like the odd man out if you can't contribute today, but please, if you can, do. It is those crowdfunding contributions that keep stuff going around here. The best way to contribute today would be tipping me. Even though you could cheer, you can sub, you could do all these things like my Teespring or my Patreon by tipping me. Those are funds I can use right away for things. And this particular week coming up, I have 3 major bills that I have to pay by the end of the month. So your tips are going to help me to actually afford those. Please consider tipping if at all you can. That helps me more than anything.
Gee, Phil, I wonder what bills those could have been. Perhaps some credit card bills, perhaps a second mortgage on the other side of the country, maybe to pay for a fake fucking wedding that your parents insisted you do because you knew you were about to declare bankruptcy. But wait a minute, maybe they were for all these phantom business microtransactions that you seemingly do every month, even though there's no proof of it whatsoever. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And yeah, he got away with it, but ask yourself this, what has changed in the last 4 years? Has he went on a vacation since then? Is he still streaming 6 days a week, twice a day to, quote, make ends meet? And is this dude still spending thousands of dollars a month on mobile games? This must be that famous level 1 you're always talking about, Phil. And maybe in 3 years, when you declare bankruptcy again, they'll promote you to level 2. And you can bet your ass there's going to be more than 60 people on the line waiting for you. Let's fucking go.
We don't want to just talk about that the whole stream. So please, if you're going to talk about it, that's okay. I'm certainly not going to ban discussion about, you know, what's going on in real life. But at the same time, let's try to not talk about that and relax a bit in the chat, okay? All right? In addition, we don't talk about detractor content. We don't talk about people who have illegally restreamed me, people who harass me in life, real life, and online as well. You know, these people are disgusting, vile, toxic people. They exist. There's nothing we can do about it. We don't bring it up on stream for 2 reasons. The first is because all it does is derail the positivity of the stream and make it so that we can't focus on positive gaming. And secondly, it gives them undue attention that we don't want to talk about. So it's against the rules. Please understand that. And please know that. All right? Please do your best to not bring it up. I do see there were multiple moderators in the chat today. In particular, guys, you pretty much know what's going to happen. It's going to be a nasty stream. So anyone bringing up detractor shit gets Das Boot today. It's just I'm putting down my foot, okay? I'm putting down my foot on it. We're not going to be talking about that crap on stream, all right? Fair enough. All right.